Um, I was inspired to choose this field of study by a number of things. It kind of just came together. So, for instance, when I was younger, I used to always want toys that had like some sort of computer or technological component in it. For example, like I used to like the little like my secret dear diary things, like probably like a pocket organizer or something, probably two steps above a calculator, but I like that. I like little virtual pets, lots of computerized sorts of things, and I always thought of computers as like almost like magic. I didn't understand how they work, so I had to figure out how in the world do these things work. So when I was in high school, my high school had a computer science track where you could study like computer math or computer science. So I decided to do that, and then it was time to pick a major for college. It was pretty much a no-brainer. I pretty much thought about all my classes and said, okay, which of these classes, I was a typical high schooler, like which class do I hate the least? So I remember thinking, well, computer science, I really like that class. I think it's really fun. So, but then looking back, I don't know why it was such a huge stretch because I always saw myself as someone who loved computers. Like my best friend's mom used to call me Inspector Gadget when I was little because I loved like little gadgets and things that, I don't know, I don't know why it was such a hard decision. The best piece of advice I ever received is don't compare yourself to other people. So I received that piece of advice when I was in graduate school, and it's so true because we take so many different paths in life, and you may see people who you started school with who are doing things that are different from what you're doing. It doesn't make what you're doing any worse or any more wrong or correct. So not to compare myself to other people's trajectories, their accomplishments, things like that, because then if you're not living up to what you think the ideal person should be, then you start to feel, a bit sad about your own personal circumstance when you could in fact be doing fine and you're just comparing yourself for no reason. So as a child, I didn't have a lot of scientific experiments, but I used to take things apart a lot. So my dad used to work for a furniture company, and they had these pens, and the pens had about 8 different parts to it, and they were all different colors. So I would come in, and he'd bring home like let's say 10 pens, and I would take them apart and put different parts together. Like let's say I would make the top red and the bottom blue, and put the springs in different places, and just figure out how a ballpoint pen works. I've probably taken apart a ballpoint pen at least 10 or 20 times. But that was pretty much what I used to like to do. Do you remember like the erector sets that used to, I wanted an erector set so bad. My neighbor had one, so I used to play with his, but like I used to like little things where you could just tinker and take things apart and put them together and make new things. My favorite thing about being a computer scientist is the fact that I can make anything. And it's almost as though like it's almost like an art form to me because if I wanted to make, for example, I don't know if I should tell this story or not, but like I'm really bad with keeping in touch with people. And so I wanted to make like an email agent where I could send personalized emails, but to a bunch of people. So I made this thing in MATLAB where it would, all I had to do was fill in like maybe a sentence specific to that person. And then like fill in their name and fill in a couple. It was pretty much like I fill in maybe 2 or 3 things about the person, and then I could press send and send it to a bunch of people, and it felt like it wasn't like one of those mass emails. But I feel like if I need anything in my life, I can just make it, or it's just I can figure out how to make it. So that's the part that I love. So my research is with virtual spatial audio, and one societal benefit in that. So first, I'll explain what virtual spatial audio is. Virtual spatial audio. You can think of it, if you will, of a virtual environment in which a user can put on headphones, and through those headphones, they hear sounds as though they're coming from actual locations in space around that person. So it's a very, broad topic, but the applications of it are the societal impact. So I'm looking at ways to incorporate this into assistive technology for blind people. So if we could augment not only giving them turn by turn directions with these like audio GPS things, but we can also let them listen through headphones and hear the sound of the location they need to be walking to, and the sound gets louder and they can orient themselves according to that. So that's one societal impact. I also like to use it in terms of training for combat, any sort of military training, lots of Department of Defense sorts of trainings, because there's lots of training simulations, and most of these, they're pretty similar to video games. So having the spatial audio would help even more with the immersion in that environment so they can get even more of a realistic feel of what the whole environment would look like and sound like once they get there. So those are two immediate impacts. My thinking as a scientist has been definitely influenced by Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. Currently, he's the president of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. That's where my undergrad university is. I was a Meyerhoff Scholar there, and I can just recall him he's always challenging us to do more, be better. Like, there was never a question of whether or not we could do something. It's like, just how good are you going to be when you do it? So he's definitely, I came in as a high schooler and kind of unsure about myself, unsure about the college thing, but just one conversation with him, you feel like you can conquer the world. So there was never a question of, can I do this? It was, okay, if I don't think I can do it, who can I talk to? So this has always been my motto of, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find someone with the answer and they're going to help me. And if not, I'll go to the next person. So that's really driven like my entire research career. It's given me sort of that drive or that just hustle as a person in academia, where I've had colleagues who, they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'll just take a 0. No, so-and-so got 100 on the last exam. We're going to go find them and see what's going on. The thing that I think would surprise most people about my field is just that it's not as sheltered or such an inside in the dark programmer life that it seems to be depicted as on TV. It's a very interesting field. Like, I've done research with making educational software for kids, or I got to spend half a day in a kindergarten classroom, and that's exciting. So it's not an isolating field. Sometimes people think of a programmer, as someone who sits in the dark with their console up and they just code into the wee hours of the morning, drinking Mountain Dew and never coming out. But it's definitely a field where you get to interact with people as well. My data. I would definitely rescue my data if my office was on fire. If it's on a server, I'm taking the server. If it's on my time machine backup, I'm taking that. Wherever my data is, that's where I'm going first. Most often, I don't tend to play music in the car, but in the lab, I'm a weirdo. I tend to listen to musicals, and the same musicals over and over. My favorites are right now Wicked, Rent. I love the songs from Aida. I love it's. Sometimes I'll have a favorite song from a musical. So, like when I was defending my PhD, for some reason the song "Defying Gravity" from Wicked, that one, like, that really got me through. I don't know, that's hard to believe, but that one was like, I would play it over and over and over because I just really connected with it. And there's a song from In the Heights where she talks about not wanting to come home from college and, be a failure. And everyone's like, because she was the smartest one always growing up. And everyone's like, oh, we're not worried about you. You'll do the best. And she comes home from college and sure of herself. She's like, how do I tell all these people, that while I was away, that, I wasn't such a good student. So, yeah, a lot of the songs really hit home, but I love musicals.